What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Zamboni. I am an herbalist and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sending this to your friend, for saving this to your collection, for sending me a tip via Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, for sending it via Bitcoin. Thank you so much for doing all of these things. Thanks for getting a reading and being a part of the community. Thanks for joining me on Patreon and learning Astro Basics. Thank you for being here. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. So, what we're doing this week is, obviously today there's a new moon in Leo. Now this new moon in Leo is very interesting because it's kind of one piece in a series. So 2 weeks ago we had a full moon in Aquarius. It was in the very early degrees of Aquarius. Then we're having the new moon this week in Leo, and then we'll have another full moon in Aquarius in 2 weeks. And so there's a bunch going on this axis. The way that I've been talking about that is the first full moon was conjunct Saturn, and so we looked at problems, we looked at obstacles, we looked at difficulty, naysaying of some sort. Then the new moon this week, and we've got this square to Uranus. So it's like, okay, think outside the box, try something different. A square is a really good way. I've been thinking about necessity is the mother of invention. A square is some kind of conflict and tension with the Uranus piece, right? So it's not like, oh, eureka, I have it now, and then everything just sort of works. There's some kind of conflict, there's some kind of difficulty in making it happen. But there's also good opportunity to make it happen. There's, if someone has been telling you no, then maybe that's a good reason for you to figure out a workaround, right? That's kind of what we're looking at with this new moon in Leo. Then moving forward, we get to, in a couple of weeks, we get another full moon in Aquarius. This time it's conjunct Jupiter. Here, Jupiter likes to be the planet of improvement or betterment, healing, solutions, all this kind of stuff, right? And so this full moon looks like some kind of solution or betterment around whatever it was that we dealt with a month ago at that point. And then what's interesting again is then once we move forward and we've got the new moon in Virgo after that. So this is the new moon in Virgo that's going to happen in the middle of September. Then once we get there, then this new moon makes a trine aspect to Uranus. And so we're looking, so a trine aspect, this is going to be, supportive or stabilizing in some kind of way. It's going to be helpful in some kind of way. And so, so it's helpful from the standpoint of Uranus or toward Uranus. So Uranus is going to be the new ideas, the invention, innovation, all this sort of stuff, right? And Virgo, with the sort of technical piece, is going to maybe have a good idea about how to put things together, the actual engineering of the thing, right? And so there's this broader arc that's going on here with just the lunation. That's all, we're not talking about any of the other stuff that's going on here. But so to look at the new moon in Leo today, and to really see it as part of this sort of overarching dynamic which is going on throughout the year, and then to see that as part of the longer Saturn-Uranus story that we've been talking about all year, and to see how the Uranian bit of needing some new ideas, wanting some new ideas, wanting some, some kind of like, I want it to feel good, but I need it to be true to who I am in some kind of way, but then also having to engage with the like actual reality of obstacles, and all of the, my friend who runs a studio in New York, he always tells me that every recording session is a troubleshooting session. Every session is a troubleshooting session. And so this feels very much like Saturn and Aquarius to me, right? Figure out the problems that are in the situation. Every time you run something and you want to try to do some work, then you're going to have to engage with these problems and obstacles, right? And Saturn in Aquarius is like up in your grill about that shit. And so we've got this longer story of figuring out how to deal with that and how to build the new world. And here, this new moon in Leo that we have today is an installment in this process. New moon in Leo, basic new moon in Leo stuff is going to be like plant a seed, like the new moon in Leo. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to, dig into my personality and character, the things that make me, me. The things that make me unique, perhaps. Unique is a nice keyword for Uranus as well, and we've got the square to Uranus going on. And so there's going to be, so it feels like, a light bulb moment here. It feels like an idea. It doesn't necessarily feel like putting it into practice necessarily, but this new moon does feel like the brightness of the idea. Now, so then let's talk about practicum. Let's talk about what we're going to do with it moving forward. So one of the most important things that's going to happen throughout the week this week is that Mercury is going to move from Leo into Virgo. So Virgo is a sign that is ruled by Virgo is a sign that is ruled by Mercury. And Mercury is exalted here as well. So this is a very strong position for Mercury to be in. Now, the trouble with Virgo this year is that Mars is also here, and Mars is going to be present the whole time that Mercury is present. And so whenever we're looking at Mars, and we're looking at Mars in Virgo, this is going to be 6th house relative to Aries, which is ruled by Mars, right? So if we think about Mars being in Virgo in the 6th house, then, and we don't necessarily have to do that. It's in the 11th relative to Scorpio, but stay with me here, right? So then we're looking at problem solving with Mars. We're looking at problems. A lot of problems. We're looking at inflammation of all sorts, and we're looking at grump, things that make you frustrated, all this sort of stuff. In Virgo, we're looking at data analytics a lot. We're looking at organization. The informational component always shows up with Mercury and all this sort of stuff. A lot of times when I think about Mercury and Mars together, I think about angry words or something like this. And this is totally possible. To me, it feels like from Mars's standpoint, this is great because it's the ruler of Virgo right here nearby. It potentiates all of the organizational or thinky, intellectual word play kind of stuff. It potentiates that whole thing. And so whatever Mars wants to get done, it feels like it's stronger, and there's a lot of push here to be able to do that. From the Mercury standpoint, from the standpoint of actually trying to organize the thing, or from the standpoint of actually trying to, communicate properly, or, make sure that we're being, one of the things, I've been doing a bunch of scientific experiments recently, and one of the things that I always run into is I want to jump the gun. I want to be like, oh, okay, so let's try something else. Let's do something different. Whereas real scientific method will be like, no, let's run the same thing a second time and a third time just to be sure that we get the same results every time, right? And so that the scientific method, that's going to be Mercury and Virgo. Mars is going to be like, no, let's change it. Let's do the stuff right now. And so this is going to be a little difficult for Mercury to deal with. So when it comes to the Mercury stuff, then we're going to run into problems. We're going to, maybe be a little excitable in some kind of way. The other thing that's also going to be going on consistently throughout this whole time is Neptune in Pisces is going to oppose all the stuff in Virgo. Venus in Virgo is going to make that exact opposition this week. Mars and Mercury are going to do it later, but there's going to be this consistent whole sign. Confounding is the word that I think of from Neptune and Pisces to the Virgo stuff. It's very confusing. Like you try to do it and then it doesn't work, and it doesn't, it's unclear why. It's unclear what's going on here. It's not a lot of clarity the way that we want, but there is a lot of sort of push toward the executive function. Like, let's do the thing, let's try it out. This is a really good time to try to go and to do stuff. This is not necessarily a very good time to try to rest, to try to chill, to try to get the delicious things out of life. Throughout the whole week, we've got Venus in Virgo. Venus is in fall in this position. This is not an easy Venus position. And when we think about Venus, we think about sweet things and joy and harmony and togetherness, all this sort of stuff. But then we've also got Jupiter in Aquarius. Not, this is not a terrible Jupiter, but it's got to do Saturn's bidding, so it's going to be really wrapped up in the Saturn stuff. And so we don't really have a benefic who wants to just be able to bring sweetness and love and joy and pleasure and all that sort of stuff. We don't have access to that in the same way. What we do have is benefics who are engaged in problems, right? And so we're thinking about making problems better, solutions to problems, ways of incorporating problems into the engineered flow of things, so that it's not a problem, it's a feature. It's not a bug, it's a feature, right? And so this is going to be part of what we are going to be able to really work toward under this kind of sky. I do fear that I'm running out of time. Thank you so much for being here. For more of this kind of stuff, you want to check me out on Patreon. I got a lot of stuff going on there as far as learning astro basics and more fun stuff, telling stories about Costa Rica and all the rest of it. Thank you so much for sending me a tip. If you find this useful, that's super helpful to me. Very, very helpful. Keeps the whole thing going. Thank you for sending this to your friends and just for being a lovely person who is here involved. Thank you so much for being who you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a happy new moon in Leo. I'll see y'all next time.